Hi and welcome to Paula's Marathon Run Club with me, Paula Radcliffe.
And me, Christopher Thompson.
We are now week 4 and hopefully people are starting, particularly if they're new to marathons, they're starting to find their rhythm a little bit in how things fit into the week. And that's why I think you're the perfect person to talk about. Nobody's got any excuses when you can fit it in around doing what you're doing.
He's slightly tired. He's a bit fuzzy, as he admitted to us.
Fuzzy, he's still managing to get the training
He's got the running fatigue in his head.
Well, first of all, the honour's mine, guys. It's a pleasure to sit down with you both because obviously I'm really into my running and seeing what you both achieve, so it's a pleasure for me to be here.
And it is sometimes about balance, isn't it? Particularly by this stage, I know people will have found, or hopefully will have started to find, when is the best day in the week to fit in long run, when are they going to do speed work, when have they got loads on with the kids, and that needs to be a rest day.
Does it have to be on a Sunday? That's what she's like. Does it?
That's an English tradition,
That's not what I said, Paula.
That is an English American tradition.
It has to be on a Sunday.
At least it's not a game of golf. That takes a lot longer than a long run.
This is exactly
Is that your argument?
So I had this
it depends how good you are, doesn't it?
Well, even the fastest players will take a lot longer than like a 2-hour run. Do you know what I mean? It takes me like 3-4 hours. So yeah, you're getting time back. Effectively, she's seeing you for more. That would be the argument.
I don't think she wants to see me. I think she wants to help with the kids.
Fair enough.
Get the kids out helping you. Hide them along the route with little gels and drinks and things and bikes.
Yeah, so I used to play golf and now I have 3 children. I don't play golf and I got into running. And to be fair, it is less time consuming than golf. Golf's like, I'd say more than half a day. But every week when I have the conversation, I actually do my long run on a Saturday because it fits in with our kids. They go off to clubs and she's only got one of them, so it works. And she's like, how far this Saturday? I'm like, 20k. She's like, how long's that? I'm like, well, there's no marathon work in, so it'll take a little bit longer, you know. But yeah, we managed to fit it and it structures around my life quite nicely.
When did you find running? What was the thing that got you to... Because I think from memory or from my research, 2008 was your first marathon.
Yep.
And was that when you first started running in any way? So you went from to do running into running to do a marathon, or had you touched upon it when you were younger?
No, I just announced I'm going to run a marathon.
As you do.
Yeah. Well, no, I did run when I was younger at school. Cross country at school, and I was kind of okay. I was good. I think at this school cross country there was like maybe 800 people at our school. In my middle year, I came 21st, so I was kind of good. And at my junior school, I came 2nd or 3rd, so I was quite good at running. And then I joined the band when I was 17 and did 0 exercise for about 5 years. I just felt compelled to try a challenge, and I just announced I'm going to run the marathon.
And when I was young, straight in and remind us what you did for your first one.
3:52.
First one in. And but you say you did nothing the time we were talking about this earlier though. When you're in the band, I mean, there's a significant concentration issue when you're playing for that long, right? And there must be some kind of cardio workout as well.
So.
You are pretty fit base level.
Yeah, I guess so. But I tell you, the first time, I went for a run, it was a real shock to the system. I smoked back then, I drank, we constantly busy with the band. So it was a real shock. I kind of quickly got really hooked on it though. And I started properly my exercise journey in the gym because when I did that marathon, I then didn't run again for about 4 years. So I didn't get the bug then. I didn't know what I was doing. We were out in Australia recording an album and I met this personal trainer on a beach and he would just give me these running drills. I didn't have a watch, didn't really know what I was doing. So I ran a 3:52. I had no idea whether that was a good time.
It was in London the first time.
That was London, yeah. And then 2013.
Just quickly, off the back of that, so because I'm intrigued, because trying to bring it to the journey that people have with marathons. So would it be fair to say that first marathon almost ignited I don't want to say health consciousness, but a trigger to look at how you smoke? I don't know if you're saying you stopped smoking off the back of it or created habits, because we've talked a lot about how you're laying those foundations and you don't necessarily know what running's going to mean to you when you start out. You set the challenge of something like a marathon and you go on a personal journey to see what it means for you, and the byproducts you get from it is a little bit unknown. So off the back of that, even though you stopped for a while, you said four odd years before you did another one, was there anything you came off the back of that kind of...
Yeah, definitely. I think at the time I did love it. I did love the discipline. I did get that feeling of, of endorphin rush that everyone would talk about. But I remember I was still a smoker, and I was trying to cut down, and I was rationing myself to about 4 or 5 cigarettes a day, and I would have that first one after the run. And so I was really torn, because I was living this lifestyle of being in a band and had drunk too much and was, as I say, I was a smoker. But as a kid, my identity was being active and being sporty, and that was kind of what I was good at. I certainly wasn't academic. I then started exercising in the gym and really enjoyed that for about 5 or 6 years. And actually, I think it was 2012, I was watching the London Marathon, and I just got such a buzz and kind of remembered what that was like. And I just announced it there and then, right, I'm doing this. But this time I'm going to start training. And this shows how little I knew, but I was like, this time I'm going to start training in the November, and I'll be so ready for April. But then I just kept putting it off and off, because trying to find that motivation to run. I was still smoking. Okay. And then New Year's Eve, I was in the pub smoking away, and I'd been putting off this marathon training, and it was about 4 a.m, and my now wife had just gone to bed, and I was like, I'm just going to have one more cigarette, and I was out there smoking it. Kind of just disgusted with myself and just having this constant battle. And I remember flicking that cigarette away and thinking, is that the last cigarette I'm ever going to smoke? And so I got up the next morning, I announced to my family, I'm quitting smoking. And it got to about 4 p.m. It was obviously dark, it's winter, it was cold. I was with my brother, who was a smoker, and he got up to go for a cigarette. And I thought, oh God, why did I tell everyone I'm going to quit smoking? Like, this is so hard. I just want to go.
But it's just putting it out there, isn't it? It's a bit like
putting it
when
out
you
there.
say to right, I'm doing the London Marathon, I'm entered. Yeah. Then you put it out there.
Exactly.
You're committed to it. And I remember my dad saying when he quit smoking. Basically, my mum was pregnant with me, and she said, right now you have to give up. And so he did like that. But he said before that he struggled exactly because he just didn't have the motivation. Yeah. And it's like putting that in there.
Well, instead of going out for a cigarette with my brother, I looked at my trainers. I was like, right, I'm going to go for a run. And I ran about 3 miles, and my chest was sore. But I got a bit of a buzz, and I was like, right, that's it. And training for that London Marathon then really helped me to quit smoking. I did the marathon. I did 3:31.
Correct.
Again, didn't. Oh, I know. My best mate did 3:30, which was hard to take. Again, I didn't really follow a training program. I then just fell off the wagon, and again didn't run again for years. And I then went back in the gym, and I really badly injured myself. And then jumped to lockdown, and I still was trying to work out and do weights and stuff, but it would just trigger this awful pain I had from my neck.
Is it shoulder? No,
neck. I'd slipped a disc in my neck. I've since had a disc replacement, and lifting heavy, and it just irritated, and I had this nerve damage. It was awful, and really struggled to deal with that because I got so much out of exercise. And then lockdown came, and I just sort of, I don't know why, I just went for a run, and I quite enjoyed it, and carried that on, and realised, like, hang on, this isn't triggering the pain in my nerves. And then I joined Strava. A couple of mates were on Strava. I saw they were doing sessions. I was like, hey, what are these sessions you're doing? What's this, 8x400? And I started joining them, and I did one session, and I was like, how do you know what you're doing? They said, I've got a coach. I was like, give me a number now. And I called her on the way home with like a runner's high, and was like, I'm running the marathon. I want a plan. And that just suited me down to a T. And since then, what are we, 4 or 5 years later, and I'm still completely hooked.
So it was it was having that change of pace to keep the interest in there and the motivation of the group around you.
Yes.
Which is one of the big things that we've talked about. Like, if you've got a team, even if it's just a mate, and I know you do a lot of running when you're on tour, right, with Joel?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And well, also, I've got a 20, part of my plan this the moment is 20k tomorrow, and my running mate, a guy called Gab, we run pretty much, 5 days a week together. He's just torn a muscle, I think, in his calf.
Oh dear.
So I said to him this morning, I was like, I feel really sorry for you, mate, but I also feel really sorry for myself. I've got to do 20k on my own tomorrow. So yeah, I heard you talking about that in the first episode. It is so true. Getting out there with a friend and having a running partner massively helps, particularly if you have set yourself a task of whether it's a 5, 10 or a half or whatever. I think also particularly on those long, sort of slow, boring runs.
Yeah, but it's a balance like anything, though. I'm personally a big advocate for doing stuff on your own, but also with people as a kind of a mental relief and release in a way, but there's benefits to both. And I think that's where, again, when we've talked about finding people to run with, it's not a case of you need someone to hold you to be with you every step of the way. It's just part of the joys that you can find, because there's a lot of inner monologue you can have when you're running that is very creative. I've put the like we talk we've put the worlds to right
everything, or remember things that you haven't done as well, or just go on autopilot. And I'm sure we've all done that. You end it, nowhere near where you plan to go on the run, but that's just taken over. But I think sometimes a 20k run is absolutely ideal, isn't it, for just being able to focus and to work on that mental, psychological concentration as you're getting through, which you must be, I mean, all the time that you're playing. If you're playing like a 90-minute, 2-hour gig, you've got to concentrate all the way through that far more. Do. And we were talking about the fact, do you use rhythm?
When I'm running,
I would count when I'm in my difficult spots. I would count in my head. But I know some people sing, don't they? Some people use rhythm.
Paula, that's exactly what I do.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, like I'll be like,
high five.
I'm going to win the bet now. I know. You go 1, 2, 3, or do you go to 100?
Yeah. What I do is I task myself to count to 100.
See?
Task myself to count to 200.
Listen, it's
because I think and I think, and I do things like don't look at your watch. Trust that you're holding your pace, and then. It's little things like that help. We talked briefly before we started recording about headphones and music. People often ask me, do I listen to music? And the only time I have my headphones in is on the easy runs, which for anyone listening that doesn't know what that is, because that was a whole new concept to me once I'd got a running coach, was she kept telling me to slow down and run slower. And I was like, but you don't get it. I can run way faster than this. Like,
it took me years to get that.
Yeah, I was like, what, 5:30 per K? That's just too easy, And she's just, eventually I kind of grasped the concept of it. So those slower runs are like listening to podcasts, but on any of the long run stuff or marathon pace stuff or intervals, I cannot, because I'm pushing myself hard, and music is an annoyance, and something in my ear is a pain. I just want to chuck it out. Like, I'm so focused on trying to stay relaxed, focus on my breathing. I don't know how anyone can enjoy music when you're pushing yourself that hard. The only time I found music helpful is at about 34k in the marathon, when I am just going through hell, and I have a particular playlist, and it gives me a boost for about 2k and gives me a bit of a endorphin. So
you will put it on in the marathon?
In the marathon.
And help you through it?
To help me through for that sort of 2-3k. This is what has happened in the past 2 marathons I've done. So it worked in London, so I did it in Amsterdam, and it kind of helped.
Otherwise, you get mates along the route at a certain point. This is where I might be struggling. Can you please get the band playing that one? Yeah. We can send those requests out sometimes.
But, I don't know about you. I mean...
No, I think...
Like, you have these huge, like highs and lows even within that marathon, let alone the 16 weeks of training. At 37k in Amsterdam, I was dying. I mean, I felt awful. And I saw my wife, and she started running along with me, and I could have just burst into tears, and like this huge feeling of adrenaline, like overwhelming feeling in your body. And she's the kids are asking after you, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna cry. Tell them Daddy's gonna make it, and it's like such a boost.
Tell them I love you.
Yeah, I know. And I'm like, suddenly my pace picks up, and then that wears off, and I'm at 37.5k, and I'm thinking, oh my God, how am I going to get through this last 4.5k?
And I think that is one of the things that we keep saying. Everybody, and it doesn't matter if you're breaking 2 hours or if you're running your first one, you're just aiming to get round and finish. There are going to be ups and downs within that, and it's acknowledging that beforehand and being ready with what you're going to use to get through those, isn't it? All the coping techniques that we talk about on the long runs on your own, those runs, 20k runs that you've done on your own. What do I do just to keep myself focused on one foot in front of the other? And that's why we came in with the counting thing, and it's just working towards that and giving yourself the tools to be able to get through it.
I'm more of a, because I'm not a counter, I'm a visualization person, as you know. And so when you're talking about 37k and you're feeling overwhelmed, they talk about runners' mathematics and arithmetic. I partly use that, but what I do is I work out what I've got left and I break it down into bite-size chunks of where I've trained. So in Bushy Park, because I know you've done some running around there, I do this starting at one gate at Teddington Gate, and the other is like a 3-mile loop, and I do a lot of reps. So that is effectively what you've got left of the marathon, a 5K, because it's one that. And so I will imagine where on that, because when you do something often enough in training, it feels a lot more manageable. Definitely. And so I put myself in that mindset that I am on my last lap of Bushy Park in that last 5K, and I visualise where I roughly am. And so I take myself into a real place of comfort, that runner's happy place, which is the places that you train, which is where I think, for me, doing long runs in a place of familiarity and building a relationship with that area. You can still go different places, like Bushy Park's big and you can extend it, but making friends with a particular area for that long run, I think is really useful to come marathon day.
Yeah. And also in building the strength. So if you're running each of your long runs on roughly the same area and you see you're going a little bit further each week, then you're actually building up, or you're getting to your checkpoints a little bit quicker than you had done the week before, then you're building that confidence through.
Yeah, well, what I do, the other thing as well as counting, is I do that, but I break up into a track session.
Yeah.
So I think, and I start doing the maths, even though I've done it 100 times, I still can't remember it. So I go, on Wednesday I had a 10K, so I was going for a PB, and there's probably 3K left, and I was like, okay, 400, 800, 1200, 16, okay, that's 7 times around the track, and I don't count the last K because that one's for free, and all that kind of stuff.
It's all distraction, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's by the time you've worked it all out, that's 500 metres gone now.
Exactly.
It's taken me that long to work that out.
Don't look at your watch.
Or look around you, try and find somebody, I don't know, bright pair of yellow shorts up ahead. I'm going to try and work on them and catch them up. Look around for support as well. I mean, that's one of the things I think in the marathon is phenomenal. It's just to look around, and there's always somebody who's got a little bit more energy at that moment, and it's going to help you get through that. And then you can maybe return the favour a little bit further along.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just marathon is just a different beast. One thing, I think it was Eliud Kipchoge said that I've taken, and it has really helped me, is get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that I use in training when I'm feeling uncomfortable on a run. I just keep saying that to myself. And the other thing is to relax. And that's taken a while to learn, because it's so easy when you're feeling stressed, and and obviously it's different for everyone. For some people, just completing the marathon, and for some people, if you need to stop and walk, like, of course that's what is required. But for me, like, now I'm trying to go sub-3. Obviously I have a target pace. I can't stop and walk. I've got to try and hit that 4:15. And when you start getting a bit stressed and there's 10K to go and it feels impossible, your body tenses up and you're using up energy in areas you don't want it to. So that's the other thing. I constantly relax my shoulders, get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Now, we are extremely proud to partner with Children with Cancer UK to bring you this special series where we're hoping that we help you along that journey to the London Marathon, but we also show you the difference that your support of all charities, and particularly of Children with Cancer UK, makes. In each episode, we're sharing inspiring stories from those whose lives have been touched by this. And today it's time to hear from Dr. Sultana Chowdhury, who is Head of Research at Children with Cancer UK. And she is going to help us understand exactly where all your support is going to make that difference.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sultana Chowdhury, Head of Research here at Children with Cancer UK. Every year in the UK, around 4,000 children and young people are diagnosed with cancer. And while survival rates have improved, cancer is still one of the leading causes of death for children in this country. Our mission is clear: to fight childhood cancer and reduce its devastating impact. And one of the key ways that we do this is by funding pioneering research to develop safer and effective treatments. This wouldn't be possible without the incredible generosity of the public. And the money that you raise helps provide crucial support for children with cancer and their families, offering comfort, hope and support. To everyone taking on the marathon for children with cancer, thank you. Your efforts are more than inspiring. They're life-changing, and every step that you take brings us closer to a world where no child has to face cancer. Good luck to all of you. Remember, you're not just running a race, you're running to save lives, and we're cheering you every step of the way.
So thank you very much to Sultana for that. To find out more about Children with Cancer UK, there is a link in the description. Thank you for your support there. Now, that is all that we've got time for. Do not forget, please, to give us a follow on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, and keep sending in those questions because we're loving the chance to interact with you and answer on those. Paula's Marathon Run Club is a Viral Tribe entertainment production. We look forward to catching up with you in week 5.